in at an earlier period in our history. But now let's talk about this whole question of drugs and narcotics. And I say that primarily because quite recently we had the communications director for a Partnership for a Drug-Free America, Ms. Brenda Trotman, on this program. And she indicated that the greatest drug problem today is marijuana. And we wanted to simply follow that up. I think we also mentioned that to Chief Turner when we had an opportunity to talk to him. But it is her contention that all of the research and everything else shows that if we could deal with the problem of marijuana, not the problem of crack, not the problem of heroin, but the problem of marijuana, that we would eventually solve the question of drugs in America. Now, I want you to speak to that and give us some information in reference to that.
That's a real difficult issue to address, and I would not claim to be an expert in the area of narcotic investigations. That's not specifically what we do, but I would agree with the perception that marijuana is perhaps the most prevalent illegal drug. Alcohol is by far the most prevalent legal drug, and we see that a great deal as it relates to children. But I would agree that marijuana is a very prevalent drug, and we see that a good bit. We see it some in the schools, but primarily not in the inside the classrooms, but more, among school-age children. It's a cheaper drug. It's easier to get a hold of, and obviously it has had a long-term interest. I mean, it goes back decades. So I would tend to agree with that.
Very good. Ms. Villanueva, let's give you an opportunity to talk about some of the things dealing with the why that we've not had an opportunity to talk about. I know one of the issues that we have attempted to address at this station during this period has to do with domestic violence and whatnot. And so let's have you, since we do know that the Y has a domestic violence program, let's have you to give us, our audience, some information, even though we know you might not be the director of that program, et cetera. But as of this moment, you are the person who has probably more information about the Y's domestic violence programs. And so let's have you to talk about
I'd be glad to talk about that. Actually, the YW has two domestic violence programs. It's a need that we feel that needs to be addressed, and the YW has been seen as a leader in that area for numerous years. We provide support groups. We do a lot of court advocacy on this issue. And again, it goes back to that philosophy of empowering women to reach their full potential. A lot of times it's letting them know they have a safe place to come to, and that there are legal and other options out there for them, and that they do not need to stay in an unsafe environment. So again, it's really giving women skills and empowering them to move beyond an unhealthy situation and really giving them hope. And we do that not only with our youth department, but also in the area of domestic violence.
And so, and of course, Captain Meese would also agree that domestic violence is an important issue. As a matter of fact, the Metropolitan Police Department has done quite a bit in terms of trying to deal with that as an issue. We've had a person here on this show who is a nationally recognized individual dealing with domestic violence. Why don't you say something about youth services and domestic violence? Or do you find that to be one of the areas that is of some concern to your division?
Oh, there's no question that it is. One of the services that we provide is investigation of child abuse, both child physical and sexual abuse. And there is no question but that children are caught up in the battling at home. I mean, there's no question that they are, and they are often victims of that. If not emotionally, they are victims physically or sexually. So that's one of the things that we investigate. It's probably one of the more painful areas of investigation that police have to deal with, and it's a very real, very present concern for us.
Okay, we've got about a minute that allows you, Ms. Villanueva, to perhaps give us some final comments, and we'll elicit from Captain Meese some final comments before we end this for today.
I just want to kind of recap what Captain Meese says. You know, we see that children are also victims within the domestic violence situation, and at the YWCA, we have a children's program, because usually if a woman is going to leave her batterer, she's going to bring her children with her. So we want to provide services for the woman and her children, so providing that comprehensive service for them. Also, when looking at the area of youth services, really feel that, and I see this in Nashville, the need for youth serving agencies to unite if we're going to correct these problems. And I see that happening and just want to encourage the continuation of that, because that's how we're going to be able to make a difference. It's with us coming together, joining forces, and making a difference.
Captain.
There's two things I'd like to mention quickly. One is that I would like for us to be able to do a lot more preventive work than we currently do. Although we do a good bit of that, one of the best programs that we have ever provided in the police department is drug abuse resistance education, known as DARE. We teach that in the metropolitan schools to 5th and 6th grade kids, and I think it's a long-term behavior modification type of a thing. Another area that I have a real concern about is the area of missing children. We had about 3,500 missing children in 1995, and that includes kids who are missing by choice, those who are missing unusually, those who are runaways. And I think that's an area of major concern. There's obviously a problem there, and I think it's an area that needs to be looked at carefully, and we really don't feel like we have the answer, although we continue
Very
to
good.
look at it.
And let me, Captain Meese and Ms. Piano, to thank the two of you for coming by and giving us that excellent information. Let me encourage you to tune in again next week for another informative edition of Comments. Thank you and good morning.